Hey yo, what's up guys? Today we got Poke Game here, and today I'm doing another showdown live with my good friend Blady. Blady, why don't you say hello?
I'm going trash talk crazy. I'm Blissey, call me Blady.
My bad, I meant Blade. Of course, sometimes I get that mixed up it was just a classic joke, but that among friends because we are such good friends. Anyways, today I'll be bringing you all my team review for Season 9. If those of you remember last season, I did a tier list, and this season I'm in a kind of a mood. Um, and by a mood, I mean I'm in a prediction mood because all season we did that content show and we did predictions. So I was like, hey, you know what? Why don't we predict my team review? I thought that would be a great idea. So here we are. Um, if you are slightly bothered by my voice, or I'm a bit stuffy, or if I start coughing, or I drink orange juice spontaneously, I apologize. I currently have COVID-19, and I don't feel too good. But I'm quite bored, and I can't go outside. So here we are. All right. So started by saying, I want to start the season by saying I ended up with the same record, 8-8. As I did last season. I did make playoffs this time, which I didn't last season, and I'm pretty happy with that, considering I don't know, this is my second season of Draft League. It's kind of like the only singles I take seriously. I'm happy I made playoffs, even if it was the last slot. I'm really happy I took a game off BSV because I think BSV's team is really good, and I think he's a really good player. And so I think that this season I did a lot better than last season, which I'm quite happy with. I think improving is the most fun part about video games, so I hope to continue to improve. That being said, I still feel like I have a long way to go. I do think that the team I built this time, I really, really believe in the final version of the team I had. Uh, like, I think it was really, 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 really good. I kind of changed philosophies like mid-season. I became a little bit of a stall player. I guess I started as a stall player and I ended as a stall player. My understanding of like stall and like I guess just singles in general changed a little bit as the season went on, and I think it's mostly based around, or like it was kind of inspired by, ironically, by Sickboy changing his team a bunch. And I think one week he got Blissey and Steelix Mega, and I thought his team was really good that week. Obviously, I look like a fool now because he's doing quite well. But he has not played Heron yet at the time of recording this video, but I think he has a solid chance of beating Aron. I think that Arctizolt Skarmory is a rude core is really, really strong. That's beside the point. He picked Blissey and Steelix, and I thought Blissey looked really good, and it was something I kind of hated on before. So I queued up some OU games with Blissey, and the games became like monumentally easier for me to play. Blissey is like a turn off button, like a brain off button, and I felt like I could build my team around that. As like a newer player, it made it a lot easier, and I feel like I improved most just like playing this style, rather than try to like. I think before I kind of had like a hyper offense thing in mind with like Altaria and Raichu, just be able to like take over games, and they did. Like Altaria got a handful of 6-0s this season. Raichu had like one really good week before I traded it away. But I think that kind of play is really hard for a player like me who's still struggling to be consistent. That being said, we'll start with Blissey. So like I said, I think Blissey is my favorite one that I picked this season. It has access to Wish, it has access to Teleport, but not at the same time. Seismic Talk, it gets rocks. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's the rocks. The rock setting is like huge, 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 huge. Just having rocks and like Blissey serves as a special switch in for literally anything in the game. Like the only thing that can really like threaten Blissey with like 2-hit KOs is like our tier 1s and tier 2s that are already boosted, and they have fighting. They're using fighting type moves, special moves. Those are the only like special breakers that can really break Blissey. Like Volcanion can't touch Blissey. I think that's the strongest special breaker. Like pure, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. It's like really really strong, and I think it might be one of the better ones in the format, honestly. If you're a newer player, I'd recommend picking this because I think that it makes the game a lot easier to play, and it really gives you like a something to build around. Plus, people don't take it, so like this thing gets like I got this as a free agent, right? It wasn't actually even picked in the draft, and last season it was only picked in the draft by Burrow, who was playing Pure Stall, or close to Pure Stall. So it's like you can do and make some reaches for tier 2s and 3s, and I think you can build a really solid team with Blissey. Going for value picks and then picking Blissey later. It's also really good for double tier 1 teams because I think Blissey enables a lot of tier 5s, which I'll get into later. So like rather than doing the double tier 1 and then just like a tier 3 and having a 7-mon team, what I went for was Blissey and 3 tier 5s, and I think it was better than any tier 3 I could have gotten to have 3 tier 5s with Blissey, because you could have like these shitty setup sweepers, and the fact that you have a switch in for anything just completely like it like enables them in certain games, and there's so much flexibility you could have with these tier 5s, right? Like you guys can see Red Ice on my screen. Like Red Ice is a sweeper. If you've been watching the Pokemon videos or the Blunder videos, like that Bolt Beam set's like really the Rest Talk Bolt Beam is real. Rock Polish Weakness Policy is real. It's like one of those tier 5s. It's never picked. I'm not sure why, but like shit like that, like Lilligant also, which is not on here. It seems like I forgot to put Lilligant on here, but I'll add that in a bit. But yeah, Lilligant's the same idea, right? Like this is a setup sweeper that like doesn't have too much flexibility with it. Yeah, it doesn't have too much like Lilligant doesn't have too much flexibility and whatnot, but having Blissey like kind of enables it, right? I don't know. I don't really know how to explain this properly, but Blissey is just an enabler. And I'd say Blissey's a 2. I'd predict that Blissey's a 2-0 because I only had it towards the end of the season, but I think it really brought me over the finish line, and it really changed the dynamic of my team and made it something really functional, especially on Altaria. So enables tier 5. It like enables all the mons on my team, right? Like you could switch it into anything, any special attack whatsoever. And I have a couple other options for physical defense or physical defense. Yeah, it's all only weakness to fighting is great too, especially when I have an Altaria who is resisting fighting even before it's mega. Well, it just enables tier 5s. It like enables everything. It's not just tier 5s I can sweep. Like it enabled UC to sweep 1 week too. But there were games I lost just by throwing Blissey away. So I think this thing was like the central part of my team. Yeah. So Blissey's an easy 2-0. Altaria is also an easy 2-0 because this is the best mod in the pool. Maybe it's not the very best mod in the pool because I'm still suspicious about like Feeny and what's it called? Zapdos. I'm still skeptical about those 2 mods being maybe better than Altaria, but like Altaria in draft specifically is really gross. It has the special set that's viable, it has the DD set that's viable, it has the mix set that's viable, it has Cotton Guard. You can even do the Perish Trap if you're feeling spicy. Like, this was easily the most value pick. I picked this 14th overall, I think, or 15th overall or something. And I think this was easily the most value pick I had, even more than Entei. This mod is so good. I would consider even banning this mod. Like, a lot of you guys shit on me for not using it right or whatever, but I still dropped 22 with it. And I 6-0'd BSV with it. Like, this mod is disgusting. Like, we were talking about in Town Hall today about whether we should remove, like this would be an example of removing a mon that might be too powerful, I think. Like, this, if one of the better players gets this, I think they're just going to win. Because genuinely, I don't think there's counterplay in most games if you build a good team around it. Yeah, I don't really know what to write in the comments. This thing is just really, 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 really strong, and it's kind of the reason I believe so much in my team. like while Blissey was the guy, it was kind of like the glue. But, like my win condition in most scenarios, and like when you look at my team and you prep for my team, you're prepping for Altaria, because Altaria is the reason my team wins games at the end of the day. It's the best win. It's like the best win condition in our league, if not the best, or one of them, if not the best. Next we got Entei. Entei is another easy 2-0, mainly because this thing's a tier 2, and it has like very little switch-ins. 120 or 125 attack with Sacred Fire, which is base 100, 50% chance to burn, 95 accuracy, and its stab. Has 100 base speed, so you can bandit in a lot of games too. Mono Fire is a pretty good defensive typing, and although it's weak to rocks, which sucks, you can there are ways around this, obviously, like defog and spin and heavy duty boots even. When it comes to viable sets, there are technically a couple. So you got Band and Scarf, obviously, which look pretty much the same. It's just Sacred Fire plus coverage. And then Flare Blitz if you don't even need the coverage too, just so you don't have to gamble with misses just in case in an endgame. There's like this subset that I tried a couple times, which was just boot sub and then 3 attacks, which is just like, the idea behind that is that you just press sub instead of bands, right? And then like if you Sacred Fire twice, it's technically more damage. Like you get 2 rolls for 50% burn, and it's technically more damage than 1 Sacred Fire with band. So like there's an idea behind it, but oftentimes it's just like a little unnecessary because Entei seems to kill half the roster anyways. Access to band extreme speed is also really important. Not much to say. If this thing, like, when it comes to moving this thing up or down, definitely, obviously, don't move it down. It's one of the better tier 2s, but that being said, it can't be a tier 1. I'm like fairly certain this thing would be unplayable at tier 1 because it's like really good, but it's not something you can really build around. And while it got like the most KOs last season, I don't know. It's really, really strong, but it just doesn't feel like you just press Sacred Fire, right? And you press Extreme Speed. It's very one-dimensional. Its one job is to kill shit, and it does it very well. So of course its stats are gonna look good. I like don't think this carries a team like Altaria does though. Like Altaria doesn't need to get kills to be carrying the team. It can just exist, and it's already doing so much work. Entei is really not the same. Entei is a cleaner. Like it would be good on like semi-stall like my team. It's good at picking up things. It hits really hard, but it's very one-dimensional. Overall, I'd say it's extremely value for a tier 2, but I really don't think it should be bumped up or down. Or up to tier 1, because it would, I think, be unplayable at tier 1. Next we have Starmie. I didn't really get to use Starmie too much, because I got it at the end of the season from Logical. Logical and I did a lot of big trades at the end of the season. Yeah, so it spins. It's got Analytic. It's got 100 base special attack. It's got 115 speed. So like, and its Water Psychic is like okay offensive typing. Water is one of the better offensive typing, or just one of the better typings period. It has access to Recover, which is good. Natural Cure. It only has 2 abilities: Natural Cure and Analytic. So the one Eliminate is not usable. Analytic is good if you like. Since Starmie has such a like high base speed, the reason you're using Analytic is to like switch it in front of a ground type and then predict the switch in, right? So then you get like an Analytic either super effective move, or because it gets really great coverage as well. It gets Bolt Beam and Psychic and maybe Shadow Ball. I'm not sure, but yeah, like you wait till you throw it out, and either you spin to get rid of hazards, or you are you're pressing a move, and Analytic is going to do a lot of damage to whatever switches in. I think that's how that works. It gets access to Flip Turn too. I'd say this thing is like really good for a tier 3. Would I say it's on the same par with like Suicune and Arcanine and some of the other tier 3s that are like maybe borderline? Or Bronzong? No, I really wouldn't. I think this is definitely a step below like the really good defensive ones like Jellicent, Mantine, etc. It's simply not as good as those. It's like offensive pressure is solid, but it's nothing to like. It's not enough of. It doesn't give it enough value to be considered one of the best tier 3s. I'd say it's very good, like A tier, tier 3. If like the ones I just mentioned were S tier, Arcanine, Suicune, Jellicent, Mantine, the bulky waters in general. So I'll give it a 1-1. I'll give it a 1-1. I think that like it provides a lot of utility, and you can even just use it as a switch in for like flip turning, spinning, and recovering with like 1 coverage, and it's still gonna do decent, right? It can do a lot of things, but it's just not like it doesn't shit on the game like those other mons do. Like Arcanine always serves as like it's a mono fire typing that is has intimidate and can be specially bulky and has access to recovery as well as like extreme speed and like flamethrower and flare blitz. So like that mon is just, if it's too many rolls, like if you can't kill Bronzong, you're gonna lose the game automatically to some weird iron defense set. We've obviously Suicune is going to be tier 2 next season. If it's not, we're gonna need new Cypher members because it's disgusting. I had it last season. Now Ice Boy had it this season and got like the most points in fantasy or some shit. Like that mon is stupid. Why is that tier 3? It dictates games by itself. It only does one thing, and that's press Calm Mind or like maybe sub and Toxic and Protect or something and Scald, but like I don't know. It provides spin, recover, and hit hard, but it doesn't take over games like the best tier 3s. That being said, I don't think tier 3s like necessarily need to take over games. Obviously, there are some like Swellow and Yanmega who are sweepers, and their job is to sweep, which may seem like it's taking over the game, but at the end of the day, Yanmega and Swellow are probably not doing most of the heavy lifting themselves. They're probably just cleaning up. Starmie is in that same vein. I think while it does a lot of things, it's not doing it by itself, like Suicune, Arcanine, Mantine, Jellicent are. I'm not looking at the tier 3s in front of me right now. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple more. I'm probably missing a few that are like take over the game tier, but like compared to all of these are like take over the game tier in my opinion. Entei, Altaria, and Blissey, but Starmie is not the same. And so now we have Magneton. Magneton's interesting because it's an NFE, right? But it's one of the NFEs with the Gen 4 evolutions, so it's like Magneton was intended originally to be a final evolution, and therefore its base stats aren't terrible, making Eviolite really, really powerful on Magneton. I would 100% pick Magneton again, but it's not like a good mon, like overall. It just has a specific use. Like you could do the analytic 120 base special attack is still really strong with Steel, Electric, Dual Stab. But yeah, I mean like it's a tier 4 at the end of the day, right? For a tier 4, it's like pretty value, but the reason you're picking it's for Magnet Pull, and if you're using it in other situations, it's like nice, but it's not why you're not picking it to be. I don't think I got to use it in BSV series, but I did in the scrims. It was Rest Talk in my BSV series, and like it was good. Like Analytic Rest Talk was good. It did a lot of damage, as you see. Like it did like 80 to the Thunderous when you switched it into game 1, but that's not why you pick it. You pick it for Magnet Pull, and the reason I wanted it is because I had Altaria. Which I don't think is like, I don't think Magnet Pull is necessary for Altaria to succeed. It's just nice. It's like a lot worse than Zone. Like I'd much rather have Zone, but that being said, like I don't know if like the tiering is worth it. The tiering difference is worth it. Like I think there might be an argument for saying like if you're picking Zone for Magnet Pull, like there might be an argument to take Magneton instead for only Magnet Pull, because yeah, like Zone is a tier 2, right? That's a lot more investment. That being said, I think when you pick Zone, you pick it for like its damage and its bulk as well as its typing and its move pool. Like Zone, I think is a way, way, way better Pokemon. But like if you're only going for Magnet Pull, then like I think there's an argument for picking Magneton over Zone, especially with tiering difference. Tier 4, but it doesn't overperform. Magneton does exactly its job. Dusclops, I'd give it 2-0. Dusclops, Rice said he was gonna make a video, or Owen said he was gonna make a video about this, about like these tier 5s or lower tiers that kind of dictate games by themselves. Dusclops is one of those. Because it's one of the better defensive switch-ins in the game. It is Dusclops. I'm pretty sure in Gen 3 when it was introduced, it was like it had no evolution, and then it got Dusk Noir in Gen 4, and that's why Eviolite is really cracked on it. But it just like its only problem is it can't pivot out. But for a tier 5, it's disgusting because you can't break it unless you prepare for it. You have to knock it off. You have to do all these things. Even if you knock it off, you can still get stalled by it. It has Haze, it has Pain Split, Access to Recovery, Will-O-Wisp even, Nightshade, Seismic Toss. Like this for a tier 5, like I'm not sure if it should be a tier 4, but it's just one of the better tier 5s. It just dictates the game. Like it could potentially dictate a game by itself. Your rest Dusclops could literally be unkillable in a game if they don't prep right. It's not completely unreasonable to think that. I didn't get to do it this season, but last season I saw BSV do like the meme look stuff where they would like stall the Aggron, the Mega Aggron, or putting this Mega Aggron. I think that's what it was last season. That stuff's also very valid, right? At like worst case scenario, your Dusclops is like a kill button. It just kills another Pokemon. It just traps another Pokemon and kills it. So for sure, one of the best. It also is a ghost type, so it helps Blissey with fighting types, and it helps Altaria with poison types. So that's just value. Will-O-Wisp also, if most steel types are physical attackers in our pool, I believe there's only like Duraludon and Jirachi, I guess. I don't know. There's Magnezone, I guess, and Ton as well. There's not many, like, too many. There's more physical steel attackers. The best wall. Also, it doesn't have to be. You can choose if you want it to be special or defensive, which is, and it does both jobs fine. Okay, next we got Regis. So I talked about Regis a little bit before. I think Regis is like, I didn't play with it enough. It's got potential though, so I'll leave it at 1-1. It's one of those tier 5s that it has 100 base attack, special attack, and it has 200 base special defense and like 50 base HP. So you're putting 252 HP, and then you're investing in something, and that's not terrible. Like its base stats are okay. Its typing is pretty horrendous, but it has like as a tier 5. I mean, like it can randomly win games, right? Like in those OU videos. Regis doing well against good tiers, like good tier Pokemon. It's got like a Ultra Beast-esque stat distribution to make it like really niche and viable in a certain situation. So I think it's very powerful for a tier 5, but I need more practice, I guess. Or I would need more games to decide. Golbat, I'm also gonna give a 1-1 for the same reason, because like Flying Poison is a really good typing. It's only is like a really good typing for my team, I think, and I don't know. It was powerful. Like it had Taunt, it has Haze, Roost, U-Turn, Poison Fang, and it was kind of tragic that Poison Fang didn't proc like 6 times in a row against BSV. But what can you do really? For a tier 5 banger, like I'd pick it again for sure. I'd pick Regis also again. These like all these 1-1s actually I'd probably pick again. Like Magneton and Starmie. They definitely did their jobs. Oh, fuck. Sorry, I hurt my throat. Talking so much. Okay. My last tier 5 was Lilligant. I'm also gonna give it a 1-1 because it has Quiver Dance setup, and that's the only thing it does. I guess you could subseed with it. I have Sleep Powder. It can just win a game by itself. It's just one of those tier 5s. I don't think it should be a tier 4, but it's one of the better tier 5s. That being said, it can't be brought to every game. It has the worst coverage I've ever fucking seen out of anything in my life. It has like Pollen Puff as its only coverage move. So you have to use Hidden Power. If we end up banning Hidden Power, I don't think this thing will be very good at all. Quiver Dance is very powerful though. And Access to Sleep Powder is very powerful. Um, I think for all of those tier 5s that I gained at the end of the season, they potentially I think that those, what's it called? I think they could all be 2-0s. I think those could all definitely be 2-0s. And I just didn't have enough time with them. Just the tier 5s though. I don't think Magneton and Starmie could be 2-0s. Alright, so now we got the rejects. I made a lot of trades this season. So these are the guys that didn't make the cut. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad that they didn't make the cut. It just means my team building went in another direction. In this league especially, I don't think there's many good and bad Pokemon. Well, there's good Pokemon, but I don't think there's many bad Pokemon. I think that it's like 90% of game comes down to player diff. Yeah. So, Alola Choose, we're going to start with, which is Pincurchin plus Alola and Raichu. And obviously this thing is really, really strong. For some reason, Raichu is a tier 4. And the argument is that it needs Pincurchin in order to have any sort of value for it to be better than the regular tier 5 Raichu. But once you give it electric terrain, it effectively has, or it doubles its speed, which means it's faster than everything in the game pretty much because it has 115 base. And while it only has like 90 special attack or 85, you get Rising Voltage, which is stab, 160 or 52 or something base power. With electric terrain. So I guess access to plot also. Simply nothing lives after you press plot on terrain with Raichu. That being said, this thing is frail. No access to recovery. I suppose it gets wish, but if you run wish on this, I think you're broken. I don't think there's any viable sets outside of just sweeping on electric terrain. I know Logical used, after I traded to him, he used that Silk Scarf set with Fake Out Extreme Speed, but I think that was bad, personally. I think Alola Choose and it's at its best when it's just pressing Rising Voltage after plotting. And so you can definitely build a team around this, especially since Alola Choose is a tier 4, and Pincurchin's a tier 5, so you have low commitment. And Pincurchin is bad, don't get me wrong, but it has access to both Spikes, Recovers, Scald, Rising Voltage. It could be worse. If it got Volt Switch, I think Pincurchin would be really, really insane. You're also kind of forced to run Terrain Extender on Pincurchin, which sucks because that's not you'd rather have an item on it, but whatever. It's really high. So Alola Shoe is basically really high commitment. That's really worth the reward. I think purely because Alola Chew is tier 4 that it has to be a 2-0. It's a tier 4 that, if you go in the fantasy, people were picking it for me every week. This thing dictates the matchup, right? If you don't prep for Alola Chew, you're just gonna fucking lose. You're gonna lose to Alola Chew. That simple. If you don't have priority, you're just gonna lose to Alola Chew. That's just how it is. You're gonna lose. Even the way to exploit this is to play against a bad player with Alola Chew and have him suicide it 7 times, or Steel Roller, I guess, after you kill the Pincurchin, or Defog, get rid of the terrain somehow. Okay, Sylveon. I'm gonna say 1-1. Really good Pokemon, Wish Passer, and it has potential to Calm Mind Sweep. It also has potential to just Specs or Pixelate, just a strong ability. This was my second one with Pixelate on the team, which is funny, and I think it's fun, it's fine, but at the end of the day, I think the Mon was bad on my team because my team was based around Altaria and they share the same weaknesses. But it's strength alone as a Mon in a vacuum takes it away from the O2. I think it was horrible on my team, but just because of how powerful it is alone, I think it's a 1-1. Bad on my team, but it's one of the better clerks in the pool. I'd even say that it's better than, in a vacuum, it might be better than Umbreon, which would be its most direct comparison. I guess, so the other clerks in tier 2, Alola Mola, I mean, it provides more offense than Alamola, but it's less of a defensive switch-in. Yeah, I don't remember any of the other clicks from tier 2. So, I think this thing was bad on my team, but good in general. Ditto 1-1 as well. Ditto's interesting. It won me my game versus Shoshin in the first week, and if I was planning on playing the guy with Altaria, that wasn't me. I'd definitely pick Ditto. I think Ditto's quite strong. It's quite high skill cap though, and it's not good every week. So it's kind of awkward to pick it at tier 3 because when you pick a tier 3, I guess it depends on the type of team you're building. But on my team, where I have 2 tier 1s, my tier 3 needs to be doing a lot of work. So Ditto, while Ditto has the potential to do a lot of work, I don't think it belongs on a low mon team. Yeah, I think you need it on a team where you're really overvalued in your other slots and you have a lot of points extra. It becomes really good because it just instant wins in some scenarios, and it forces your opponent to play different, even if you just have it. Like, they have to prep differently, so it's like good. It's Ditto. Like, I don't really know what to explain besides that. Like, Ditto does one thing, it like copies you. It's an anti-sweeper. You see. Okay, so you see. It's kind of. See, I did say that I believe in this team a lot, and that's why you're going to see another 2-0 for Yuxi, even though I dropped it. I think Yuxi is like really, really strong for a tier 4 just because of pure flexibility, just like the other Spirit, Mesprit, and its tier. Both of them are just insanely valued for tier 4. They have access to Psych Up, Calm Mind, Stored Power, Iron Defense maybe? Don't remember. Amnesia, I think. Like, then also, if you don't want to sweep with it, I guess U-Turn Rocks and Knockoff, so it's like. And it's just legendary base stats, right? Mono Psychic's bad typing. Access to Levitate's good. So ground immunity. Yuxi specifically is super bulky. It's similar to Dusclops. It's not very compatible with Dusclops though. It's not very compatible with Blissey either. That's why I dropped it. I would pick it again. It wins by itself sometimes, and better defensive switch in for tier 4, I think. Yeah, it has the potential to randomly sweep to with Calm Mind Store Power, or any Calm Mind set, I suppose. Yeah, Stab Store Power is really strong. So next we got Tangla. It's the Boogeyman. Honestly, I don't think this Pokemon's very good. I like it a lot though, aesthetically. Like, if you need it was bad on my team. I think it was terrible on my team. This is one of my favorite Pokemon, but I think it was just really bad on my team. It shares the poison weakness with Altaria. And that was it. It resisted ground, which was cool. But, like, maybe in a post-Blissey world, this thing was okay. It has Regenerator, and it's a defensive vision. It has an okay defensive typing. It can only be a a Death Wall. It dies to any special move. It belongs in tier 4. It was bad on my team. That being said, I don't think it's terrible. It's Regenerator Mon at the end of the day that's bulky, so like you can probably figure out to do something with it. It can be very highly impactful. I think it was highly impactful on Owen's team last season. I think he's just the boogeyman, and I like him very much, so that's the only reason I picked him. Skunk Tank is also an O2. I picked it for Defog. And, like, it's okay for Defog, and it gets access to Poison Dark Stab, and it gets access to Flamethrower as well. I'm trying to think of anything else. Yes, I guess Plot. It's pretty terrible base stats. It has 103 base HP, which is not terrible. Its only weakness is Ground, which is a pretty good defensive typing. I don't know. This thing just didn't do shit. Like, in scrims, I'd, like, bring the Plot set sometimes, and it just wouldn't kill stuff. And even after +2, and, like, it was hitting stuff for super effective, so I don't know. I think it's like somewhere in between a good defensive defogger and an offensive sweeper with a unique dual stab. Not completely unique, but like actually, I don't think there are any other special attackers in our pool that have Poison Dark, unless I'm mistaken, because I can only think of Drapion. Anyways, yeah. Not good. I wouldn't pick it again. I wouldn't pick it again. Speaking of good defoggers, I think that Rotom Frost is a sick defogger. This was my third electric type on the team that didn't matter because it had Levitate. It has Levitate, which means switch to ground, which means its defensive switch into ground is pure. It doesn't share the same. I mean, like its electric typing is only a benefit because it has Levitate, right? I suppose like if you get 1000 arrowed or gravity, then it's like different. But I don't know, man. Mold Breaker, sure, but that never happened to me. Effectively, it's a mono ice type with defog, Volt Switch, Will-O-Wisp, and pretty crazy base stats for tier 5. Same goes for Rotom Fan. Like, they're the same mon basically with different typing. If I were to pick Rotom Frost again, it would be on a Hail team though, because Rotom Frost becomes like a serious threat after, not even after a plot, just pressing raw blizzards. It's a serious threat. Ice is one of the best offensive techniques in the game, right? So it's just a threat. I'd pick it again. Super value tier 5. Pain Split. I mean, it has a good utility set too. It's just unfortunate defensive typing in mono ice basically. So I think Fan is better, but I think both are like crazy value for tier 5s. Yeah, that should be everything on my team. Now you must be wondering, Mr. Neck, what are you putting in the results section? That's a good question. I don't know why I left this here. I can just say, like, I guess, yeah, I mean, maybe I should have been like, this is how I expect them to perform, and this is how they actually performed, but since it already happened, I don't know. I'd say that, like, if you guys have any, like, disagreements or you wanted to bring up anything specific about any of my games or any of your games experience with this mod, please let me know. I do like talking about I like talking about this league a lot, so I'm always down. Yeah. Yeah, so this was a visualization of my team besides the Lilligant, because I forgot. These are the guys that got dropped. There were a couple more in week 0 that were not touched upon because I never came to a game. Yeah, and there's my Season 8 team. If I wanted to compare it to my Season 8 team, like I said earlier, I think this is infinitely better than my Season 8 team, despite the same record. I didn't make playoffs this time. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this wasn't too long. Have a wonderful day.